everyone, it's me, Henry Boxdall. Welcome to my channel, Troubleshooting with Henry. I love working with professionals. I'm looking forward to this. Today's guest is Mary Ellis. Mary is an actor, director, and educator. She's been a very active member of the Ottawa theatre community for many years. Her directing and acting work has encompassed everything from Shakespeare to original Canadian plays, receiving multiple nominations and awards. Mary has performed at the Great Canadian Theatre Company, the NAC, the Undercurrents Festival, and the New Theatre of Ottawa, among others. She's directed for A Company of Fools, Three Sisters Theatre, and Third Wall Theatre, as well as directing The Elephant Girls, a multi-award-winning show which toured in Canada and the UK. Currently, Mary teaches theatre at Carleton University and St. Lawrence College in Brockville in the Music Theatre Performance Program. She is co-artistic director of Horseshoes and Hand Grenades Theatre Company. Hi, Mary, and welcome to Troubleshooting with Henry, the interviews. I've got 10 questions for you. Are you ready to get started?
Hi, Henry. It's a pleasure to be here. And yes, I am ready.
Let's get this party started. Okay, question one. When you were a kid, what did you want to do as a grown-up?
I actually, strangely enough, for a while, I wanted to be a teacher. And a lot of the work that I do now is teaching. But the other thing I was really interested in when I was younger was archaeology. I got fascinated with the idea of discovering, lost cities and artifacts and that kind of thing. That lasted until some point in university, where one of my theater professors told me that most archaeologists spend their lives kind of brushing away with a little brush and never really finding anything. So that kind of discouraged me from archaeology, but I still find it fascinating.
Question two, what is your career now?
So I do a number of different things. A lot of my work now is teaching. I teach, as you mentioned in the introduction, I teach at Carleton University and I teach at St. Lawrence College in Brockville. But I'm also a director and an actor. So I kind of balance a number of different things, which is the case for many of us who work in the arts. We wear a lot of hats, as we like to say.
Can you tell me a little about the program that you're co-artistic director for?
I'm co-artistic director of a theater company called Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. We unfortunately haven't been doing much during the pandemic because the theaters are closed. There's been no live theater. But we're still going strong, and we're hoping very much that once people are allowed back into the theaters, that we will be active again. And if anybody wants to check us out, our website is horseshoesandhandgrenades.ca. And we also have a Facebook page, and you can get information there about our past shows. And also we're on the search for a new co-artistic director to join me as a collaborator.
Okay, I love the name. That's pretty impressive that you juggle all of those things.
Thank you, Henry. Sometimes it makes your head spin a little bit because your brain is going in so many different directions, and I have to think, okay, today I'm teaching and that's what I have to focus on. But it's what I love about the work actually is the variety, is that I get to do so many different things.
What's the worst job you've ever had, and why was it so bad?
Oh, that's a good, tough question. I gave this a bit of thought, and I have to say being a waitress was pretty awful. For me, it was pretty awful anyway. I was pretty good at it, but I really didn't enjoy dealing with customers who were rude or not very kind or didn't leave me any tip. That was, and I was desperately trying to make money. So when people didn't leave a tip, that was pretty discouraging. But mostly it was just hard to deal with the public who were not always terribly polite, shall we say.
Sorry about the rude customers. I think that can be said for anybody.
I think you're absolutely right. I think anyone who has to deal with the public like that encounters that, and it makes the job that much harder, for sure.
Did you go to college or university? And if so, what did you study there?
I did go to university. I went to the University of Ottawa, and I studied theater and got my degree in theater there. I loved my time there. I had great professors, and it's where I really discovered that I wanted to work in theater. It was, it was a great, great experience for me.
That's incredible to find something that you love and stick with it.
That's a great point, Henry, that a lot of people spend many years trying to discover what it is that they want to do, what it is they want to pursue. But I knew pretty early on, I think, that was what I wanted to do.
What got you interested in the job that you have now?
I think it was in high school that I first got interested in theater. I took theater arts classes. I did school shows, the high school shows. And that was where I kind of got the thought, oh, maybe this is something I'd like to pursue when I finish high school. And then I went to Ottawa U and studied theater, and that was where I really got interested. That was where I had fantastic professors who really inspired me, where I got the opportunity to work on plays and do roles that I might never get a chance to do in my professional career. So I got exposed to all different writers and styles and that sort of thing. And that's what really intrigued me about, initially being an actor, because that was what I did for many, many years before I did directing work or teaching work.
Is there any advice you would give anybody who is considering being an actor or a director from the eyes of someone who is one?
That's interesting, because I do get asked that question a lot. And usually what I say is to do the work that's necessary, because it is a lot of work. You need to train. So you need to go to school to learn about being an actor or being a director. And then you need to get as much experience as possible. But it really is about doing the work. I mean, I think it's like any other career, that you can't just sort of slide into it, that you have to earn your place in it. And that means applying yourself and studying and going to see theater, anything that will sort of immerse you in it and teach you what it means to be an artist.
What do you find most challenging about your job?
I would have to say I've been working on Zoom for over a year now because of the pandemic. And I would have to say working on Zoom has been very challenging, as you know, Henry, because you've been doing your interviews on Zoom. It's not the same as being in the same room with people. And teaching is all about being in the room with your students and feeling that exchange of energy and enthusiasm and watching their faces, and it's very different on Zoom. I mean, I can see their faces in a little box, and I have to say most of my students have adapted incredibly well. They've really devoted themselves to, okay, this is the situation, we're working on Zoom, so I just have to make the best of it. but it's not the same as being in the room with them. And right now I'm actually directing on Zoom, which is really challenging. Luckily it's a one-person show, so it's just me and the actor, but it's strange. Even though I've been doing it for many months now, I every once in a while I think, oh, it would be so nice to be face to face with this person. But it's the reality we're dealing with right now. But that's been an interesting challenge for the past year.
Can you give me an example of a time you had to troubleshoot an issue with your job or your personal life and the solution you came up with?
Well, I would have to say, I'm going to talk about Zoom again, that the troubleshooting I've faced over the past year has involved working on Zoom. I was faced last summer with the idea that, well, our academic year, our school year is going to be entirely online in both of the schools where I teach. So last summer, I spent a lot of time figuring out, how am I going to do this? How am I going to teach, especially acting? How am I going to teach that online? So I spent a lot of time last summer. I watched a lot of tutorials, a lot of videos to teach me how to do it. I attended workshops. So I had to figure out not only how to use Zoom, but I had to figure out what's the best way to teach online. So I did a lot of research into it and listened to people who had experience teaching online to hear what they had to say, what they had realized was the best way to approach it, things to avoid, things that worked really well. It was kind of my summer of troubleshooting, is what I would call it, because I had to figure out how to rethink my work, rethink how am I going to work online.
That seems like a really difficult time.
Yes, it was, Henry. It was really difficult. That was kind of my summer last year. That was sort of what I did. But what came out of that is that now I realize, well, I can do this. I spent the year teaching online, so now I know how to do it. So if I'm faced with that again, I'm not going to panic and I'm not going to think, oh, I don't know how to do this. I think, no, wait a minute, I do know how to do this. I've now got the experience of doing it, and I can do it. Yeah. And it was really just spending that time figuring out the way to do it.
What do you find most rewarding about your career?
I would have to say, in terms of my directing and acting work, what I most love about it is collaborating with other artists. Especially as a director, I get to work with actors, I get to work with designers, I sometimes get to work with the writer, and I love that. I love working with like-minded people. To me, it's the most rewarding thing about working in the theater is the collaboration with others, that the exchange of ideas. I love that. With regard to my teaching work, I just love my students. I love watching them grow and develop. I love watching them present their work. I love it when they have ideas, when they have revelations, when they learn something new and they're excited about it. I love that age group that I work with. So, post-secondary kids in college and university, because they're young adults and they're discovering who they are and what they want to do. And I love working with them. I find that incredibly rewarding.
Oh, that's amazing.
Thanks.
What do you do for fun?
Well, one of the things I love to do is travel. That's my favorite thing to do, actually. But of course, I haven't been able to since the pandemic started. So that's been a bit of a loss for me. I'm looking forward to the day, whenever that may be, that I am able to travel again, because I find travel rewarding and relaxing and fun and interesting. I love discovering new places. Yeah, I love to travel. So given that I haven't been able to travel, I've found fun in other ways over the past year. I've been spending quite a bit of time cooking. I really love to cook. I love food. So I've been trying all kinds of new recipes, things I've never made before. I search out new recipes, that kind of thing. And most of the time, I have to say, they've been fairly successful. But that's been a really great thing during the pandemic, when we've had to be at home so much, is to discover how much I actually love to cook. And when we're in summertime, I love to garden. I have a big garden out in front of my house, and I spend a lot of time out there in the summer tending my garden, and I find that really, I love doing that. People think it's a bit crazy, but I actually like to pull weeds. I find it very relaxing. So sometimes I'll just go out to my garden and pull weeds, and it makes the garden look really good, and I find it very, very relaxing.
You're the only person I think besides my mother who likes pulling weeds.
I know. And I'll tell you something, Henry, your mother has come to my house to pull weeds. She comes for a visit, and she'll just go, okay, come on, we got to pull some weeds here. And she'll start madly pulling weeds. Yeah. But it's very relaxing, actually.
Okay, last question. If someone was visiting the city where you live, what would you recommend they see?
I think I would recommend that they go to some green space in Ottawa, because we have so many beautiful green spaces here. A place I've been going to a lot, because I've been walking a lot during the pandemic. If I need to get out of the house, I go for a walk. And I live pretty close to the Arboretum, which is a beautiful place, kind of close to Dow's Lake. A beautiful place with paths and tons of trees and flower beds. It's just gorgeous there. So that would be one place. If somebody wanted to go for a very peaceful walk in a beautiful environment, that's what I would recommend, is all around the Arboretum. It's just beautiful there. And especially not long ago, a lot of the trees were in bloom. So it was especially beautiful, especially beautiful.
That would be something I would do for sure. Thanks, Mary, for being on my show.
Henry, I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure to be here. It's been great talking to you.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Mary had a very adventurous time, what she called her summer of troubleshooting. She learned that all the classes she was teaching were to be moved online. I can well imagine what went on in her head when she got that news. At first, she was taken aback, and I bet she had some choice words to say about how she was going to manage. I liked how she figured it out by going online and doing research, watching tutorials, attending workshops, asking experts, all to learn how to do it. She spent her entire summer finding a new way to do something she's been doing for a long time. I can relate. I've been training at the Ottawa Academy of Martial Arts, coming up on 3 years now. For the first 2 years, I had in-person classes. COVID rolled into town and everything changed. I had to find a new way to train or give up training altogether. I ended up going online. At first I was like, what? But now, having had classes online and knowing how to do it, I feel good about it. There will come a time in your life, guys, that you may have to troubleshoot something that you've always done one way for a long time, but through no fault of your own, you will have to change. Just like Mary said, if you spend the time to figure out a new way of thinking and doing something, it will be worthwhile in the end. It might even work better. And just like Mary did with teaching and I did with jiu-jitsu, if you take the time and ask the right people, you can find a solution that works for you. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe below. And as always, special thanks to Johnny Flynn for giving us permission to use his beautiful music. Happy travels!
Is waiting for